Breaking news, SEC files for $50 million settlement with Ripple over XRP lawsuits. Just when I thought I was out, they reeled me back in. Second video of the day today. The SEC and Ripple agreed that the fintech company will pay just $50 million to settle a long-running lawsuit over XRP sales. It looks like this saga, ladies and gentlemen, is finally coming to an end. This just coming out over the past couple of hours. You can see the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, May 8th, 2025, litigation release 26306, SEC versus Ripple Labs, Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson. The Securities and Exchange Commission today filed a settlement agreement entered into with defendants Ripple Labs, Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson that lays out a framework for resolving the commission's civil enforcement action against them. The settlement agreement provides, among other things, that the commission and Ripple would jointly request the district court to issue an indicative ruling as to whether it would dissolve the injunction against Ripple in the district court's August 7, 2024 final judgment and order the escrow account holding the $125,035,150 civil penalty imposed by the final judgment be released, with $50 million paid to the commission in full satisfaction of that penalty, and the remainder of those funds, about $75 million, going back to Ripple. The settlement agreement further provides that following an indication from the district court that it would dissolve the injunction and release the escrowed penalty amounts as requested, the commission and Ripple will seek a limited remand to the district court for that relief, after which they would move to dismiss their respective appeals from the final judgment, which are currently pending in the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. The commission and the defendants filed the settlement agreement with the district court as part of their joint request for an indicative ruling. The commission's decision to exercise its discretion and seek a resolution of this pending enforcement action rests on its judgment that resolution will facilitate the commission's ongoing efforts to reform and renew its regulatory approach to the crypto industry, not on any assessment of the merits of the claims alleged in the action. Furthermore, the commission's decision to resolve this enforcement action does not necessarily reflect the commission's position on any other case. This is giant. I mean, this has been going on for years and years and years. For the background on this, you can go, all the way back to 2020 with the SEC hitting Ripple with a $1.3 billion lawsuit. Those of us that remember Jay Clayton's tenure remember that about 2 weeks before his tenure was up, this was his last acting act as commissioner at the SEC, if I remember correctly, suing Ripple, Chris Larson, and Brad Garlinghouse. So 2020, this $1.3 billion lawsuit, alleging that the company sold unregistered securities in the form of the cryptocurrency XRP to investors to raise funds. Then in 2023, a judge ruled that programmatic sales of XRP on cryptocurrency exchanges to retail investors did not qualify as securities. The ruling was cheered by both Ripple and the crypto industry, despite the judge also ruling that $728 million worth of tokens for institutional sales did constitute unregistered security sales. Man, I've got to tell you, I remember back in 2019, 2020, I got into this space in late 2016, kind of just watching what happened with the bull market of 2017 and then everything kind of crashing down at the beginning of 2018 and trying to figure out some research. And XRP, same path as most people in this space, Bitcoin and Ethereum, Coinbase, that was kind of the on-ramp. I remember buying Cardano at less than a penny, or ADA, just because I liked the name back in the day. But I remember just how painful it was to send Bitcoin and to send Ethereum to other centralized exchanges. And just realizing that something had to be a little bit different as far as mass adoption of this technology. And XRP and all the work that Ripple was doing. XRP was the first digital asset that I really dove deep into. I mean, I remember deep dives with national depositories and Accenture and not NASA, the ACH system in the US, and Finastra, and all these kind of institutions that are fundamentally like embedded into the financial system that I had never heard of in my entire life. And XRP was that first kind of conduit into like, there's got to be something a little bit different about this space from a utility standpoint. And Ripple certainly trying to disrupt the biggest monstrosities out there in the world, which is the correspondent banking system. So not surprising that, we saw litigation like this come about, especially not surprising all of the correspondent relationships that we've seen with some of the entities involved, or the names involved in, some of these heavy hitting people in politics, or heavy hitting people that have, deep ties into the banking industry and things like that. Disrupting the status quo is not something that is simply done by because the technology is just better. It takes a ton of work. I'm sure countless sleepless nights and hours, not only from Ripple and the team at Ripple, as I'm sure I don't even want to think about, kind of what those teams have done. But I think more importantly, the XRP community. The XRP community has been probably and it's an interesting community, and there's tons of content creators, and there's kind of these silos of different people that talk to each other and different people that don't talk to each other, and all this other crazy stuff that happens. But at the end of the day, the XRP community has been one that went through the ringer more than any other community in crypto, I would argue. And a lot of people still here. I think it's a massive testament to the community and to all of the innovators and developers building on the XRP ledger that stuck around and kept XRP as a digital asset in the top, top 10, top 5 for years, even with an ongoing lawsuit with the SEC. That is a massive testament to the willpower of all the people that believed in the XRP ledger and XRP, the digital asset, and the technology. So yeah, kudos to everybody. I mean, I can't even even I got super burnt out, hard time making videos and doing all that stuff. Still try to talk about XRP when I can. Certainly happy to have made, intros into like things like DREC and stuff like that, which I think are really cool initiatives, and have been able to interview David Schwartz a few times and some other stuff. But there's so many other people that have done so much more content on a much more consistent basis, and huge shout out to every single one of them, even the people that I don't talk to. It's a testament to willpower to be able to actually, man up or woman up and do content, even when content isn't sexy to do. So yeah, huge shout out to everybody. Huge shout out to the community here. This is major, not just for the XRP ecosystem and XRP community, but this is kind of hopefully more of a shining of a light as far as what's going to happen for cultivating talent and cultivating blockchain and distributed ledger technology in the United States, kind of across the board. We do know that a lot of different innovators moved offshore because it was easier to build a product where, when you were trying to engage meaningfully with regulators and actually do things the right way, you ended up getting a Wells notice and getting sued. So it seems like we're going to see a turning of the tides here. It seems like there's kind of a dawn on the future of finance and the future of the United States. United States' ability to innovate and compete. I was actually looking earlier this week into potentially doing a video on China versus US from the blockchain and distributed ledger standpoint. I haven't done that yet, but China has blockchain and distributed ledger baked into national infrastructure for years at this point in time, to the tune of tens and tens of billions of dollars is what they're pumping into blockchain and distributed ledger. And trust me, they do not have the best interests of the mass populace of China nor the world at hand. At least I wouldn't think so. We know about, what is it? Skynet. I think Skynet is like, is a thing in China where like, it's like retina tracking when you're walking down the street. That, who knows, maybe that stuff's here too. But at the end of the day, like, you look at the thousands of patents that China has on blockchain and distributed ledger at kind of the national level. Look at the educational funding that they are pumping into the educational system in China to kind of shore up people's knowledge at a very, very young age of what this technology is going to represent and how this technology is going to be baked into the fabrics of society. It is time for the United States to pick up the pieces and figure out how to move forward and to once again take a leadership role across the globe from an innovation standpoint. And cool to see this. So this is, this was filed, and yeah, will be nice to see this stuff get signed, and hopefully the appeals get Court of Appeals stuff getting dropped, and $75 million is going back to Ripple. So I hope Ripple chooses to do something good with that $75 million to kind of drive forward innovation on the XRP ledger, or whatever they decide to do it with. But anyways, I did want to make kind of a last stand video here today because this came out. I think it's big enough to justify another video. And I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week and weekend. And check out some of the other content this week. Like, subscribe if you like this. And oh, wow, this space is crazy. I'll talk to you guys when I talk to you. Thanks. Bye.